This session is going to be about spreadsheets. Spreadsheets can do an amazing number of things for you, some of them quite complicated. And I'm not going to try to show anything like that today. All the complicated things that spreadsheets can do for you are based on their one basic and most important capability. And that is the capability to do math for you without errors. So the example that I'm going to use today is the capability of giving you a check register that you can use that will keep your checkbook balance correct, whether you can do math or not. This is what we're going to build. Here's a spreadsheet that looks just like your check register. It shows the check number, the date, the payee, or in the case of a deposit, where the money came from, the amount of the check, the amount of the deposit, and the balance. We're now going to build this step by step, just as I built this one. We open Microsoft Excel, and we find an empty spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are just spaces where each cell, and that's what this is a cell. Each cell can be identified by the letter that is the column followed by the number that is the row. This cell is cell A1. This cell is cell C5. And that it will become obvious in a minute why that's very important. So first I'll put the headings in this check register. This is the check number. I'm typing that, and then I hit the right arrow key and it moves over one. That's the date column. This is the payee. Now, I'm going to make that payee column a lot wider than the others by dragging the border of the column to the right. This is going to be the amount of the check. This is going to be the deposit amount. And this is going to be the balance. And now I will bring this over so that's all we have to look at. Well, the first thing that usually happens when you open a checking account is the bank wants you to deposit some money. How strange. So let's say that in this hypothetical checking account, you start out with $2,000. Now, that $2,000 is listed as just the number 2,000. What I really want is the number 2000 decimal point 00. So I'm going to adjust the format of this cell and this cell and that cell and all of these cells down in those three columns. And I do that by clicking Format, Cells, and then selecting Currency. And click OK. And you notice that makes this number something that looks much more like dollars. Now, I said I was going to do all of these, and I didn't. Now I'm going to select all of those cells and do the same thing. Format cells, currency. OK. And for some reason, when I did that, the dollar sign went away. Can't figure that out. OK, let's say that the next thing we do is pay a bill. And that is check number 1. And and this one, by the way, we'll say that was, we opened this account back on the 15th of June. And let's say that I'm copying this from a paper check register. Let's say that on the 17th, we paid a bill to SDG&E. And that bill was $137.42. Now here is where the capability of a spreadsheet really is important. In this cell, we want the balance. The balance in the checking account after the $137.42 is subtracted from the $2,000. So I'm going to put a formula in here. Well, if I knew Excel's rules exactly, I could type that formula in here and it would calculate that balance. But there's a much better way. If I type in this cell a plus sign, and then I tell the spreadsheet that I want it to be plus this cell by pushing the up arrow key, and then I type a minus sign and tell the spreadsheet that I want it to be this F2 here minus D3, which I tell it by going over 2 spaces to the left with the left arrow key. See, it puts that formula in there, F2 minus D3, and then I tell it that I now want it to be plus this cell, just in case that had been a deposit instead of a withdrawal. So I do plus sign and left once, and then I hit the enter key. The number in here will be F2 minus D3 plus E3, which will be, I'm now typing the enter key, it will be that balance. Well, now let's say that we have a payday. Payday on the end of the month, 6/30/06, and I'll type payday. And let's say that your pay at the end of the month was $2,000. Type enter. And I could do the same thing I did before. I could say plus that, minus that, plus that, equals that. But here's another great capability of spreadsheets. I don't have to. I can simply copy this formula, and here's the formula right here, F2 minus D3 plus E3. I'll copy that formula into this box into that cell. I'll do that by typing, well, I'll do it so you can see. I'll do Edit, Copy, and then I will put the cursor there, and I'll do Edit, Paste. And lo and behold, the formula in here has now become, instead of F2 minus D3 plus E3, it has become F3 minus D4 plus E4, which is exactly what I wanted. When you copy formulas in a spreadsheet from one place to another, it changes the row numbers if you're copying down, or it changes the cell numbers if you're copying left and right. So it becomes appropriate for the cell that you're copying into. Excuse me. And now I'm going to copy this formula all the way down here for the next several cells. I'll do it by typing Control C, and then I will do Control V, which is paste, into all of those cells. And now you see that until there is something additional put in here, that balance stays the same. So let's say here was check number 2, and on the 1st of July I paid a bunch of bills. Whoops. I paid Verizon Wireless. I paid them $66.39, and you see the balance was calculated. Well, this is interesting. I need to change the format to be a date, and I want it this format there. And also 3, I'm going to copy this to the next, whoops, doesn't like that. Edit, copy, edit, paste. There we go. Edit, copy, edit, paste. There. Okay, so we paid Verizon Wireless. We wrote a check to Vons for $137.33. We wrote a check to Bullies for $50. And the next day, we got a check from Gene. for $200. And as soon as I type enter, this balance is going to be changed to $308 or $3,808.86. There are a few other things that you can do simply in this kind of a simple spreadsheet, like filling in the check numbers. If we select a bunch of cells starting with one that has a number in it and go to Edit, Fill, and the series, and select that we want to do the series in the with a step value of 1 and click OK, it fills in all the rest of it fills in consecutive cells the additional check numbers. But the most important part of this particular spreadsheet is this formula here and its ability to be replicated with the right row numbers in all the other cells in this column. To keep your balance up to date, whether you can add and subtract right or not. Finally, I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that is a lot more complicated just to demonstrate what can be done. Here's a spreadsheet that has prices of 100 stocks. And the prices run from January of 2003 all the way to the right to last Friday. And way over to the right are a bunch of formulas, some of them using Boolean algebra. And here's a sample. If this particular stock has a price change in the last week that is more than the price change in that same last week of the S&P 500, this formula puts the word buy here. If it beats the S&P 500 over the last 3 weeks, it puts a buy here. If it beats it over the last 5 weeks, it puts a buy here. And if it beats it over the last 8 weeks, it puts a buy here. And any stock that gets a buy in all 4 of those columns has another formula over here that says if all of those are the same and they are buy, put its symbol here. So there's a spreadsheet that gives you one way to select out of those 100 stocks which ones are really beating the market. I update that spreadsheet every week. So, you have seen how to build a simple spreadsheet to provide in your computer a checkbook register. I hope this has been interesting to you, and I hope that if you're interested in learning more about spreadsheets, you'll come tell me, and I'll put something together that might help you do that.